welcome back to The Charismatic Voice. After doing my first deep dive into Linkin Park, I was shocked by how many of you recommended not another Linkin Park song, but a cover that Chester Bennington did. Subscriber Adam Feltz wrote, "The live cover Chester did of Rolling in the Deep with only Mike behind him on the piano is amazing. He poured his heart into everything." Thank you, Adam, and everyone that thumbed up this comment. I am totally intrigued, so we're going to check that out now. Let's get to it.
There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching a fever pitch, and it's bringing me out the door. Finally, I see you crystal clear. Go ahead and send me out while I lay your ship bare. See how I lean with every piece of you. Don't underestimate the things that I will do. There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching a fever pitch, and it's bringing me out the door.
Whoa, already? To me, this is some of the best singing I've heard Chester do already. There's a lightness to it in his approach. He's being, I think, a lot more purposeful with the pitch and where he's shifting and sliding into things and off of it. It's so interesting. I wonder how he approached learning this or singing it. Was it just something that he heard on the radio and wanted to sing as well? It feels like, it has a different approach and a sentimentality to it. I'm going to go back to the beginning.
There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching a fever pitch, and it's bringing me out the door.
Right, he has so much, that very last word, dark, essentially. He has so much sensitivity and tenderness in the word. It's very surprising. Also, I should mention his style of singing. We're going to go back and listen to this again, of course. His style of singing is very purposefully not using a ton of enunciation. That would be considered totally wrong if you come from a classical background like I do. I kind of had to learn, to most people, if a classical singer sings a song in their native language or just a song from the radio, a pop song, if they enunciate it like they would for stage, it sounds a little ridiculous and almost too formal. It becomes a little distant. It's not conversational anymore, so it doesn't feel like something that you could just speak every day. Whereas a lot of songs on the radio, they feel a little more like something you would have in conversation with a friend that's probably really super catchy. One of the reasons for this is that classical singers are on a huge stage and they need to project really far and over an orchestra without any sort of amplification, no microphone. So you have to get those consonants out super far. You have to over-enunciate to be understood. And even then, it's still hard to understand. Whereas in this case, he's got a microphone right here. It's close to his mouth. He can sound like he's casually saying this right next to your ear, and then it takes on an intimacy, which is very, very appealing. One more time.
There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching a fever pitch, and it's bringing me out the door. Finally, I see you crystal clear. Go ahead and send me out while I lay your ship bare. See how I lean with every piece of you. Don't underestimate the things that I will do. There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching a fever pitch, and it's bringing me out the door.
The way he sings reaching gets me. It just gets me. It's technically what he's doing is he's flipping into falsetto at that point where he really flips up and was like, woo, essentially. And I think Adele did a similar thing where she flipped over into her head voice at that point. This is such an amazing song. When it came out on the radio, I remember thinking, wow, that's incredible. Definitely one of those songs that just propels an artist to uber popular, uh, just star status.
There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching a fever pitch, it's bringing me out the door. The skies of your love remind me of us. They keep me thinking that we almost had it all. The skies of your love leave me breathless. I can't help feeling we could have had it all.
Oh, I like this chord progression that we're getting from Mike on the piano already for the chorus. He's quite specific about when he's doing slides, and his style is to do quite a few slides, really slides going up into things. And Adele did that in the song too. I think that is one of the reasons why this song is such a good choice of a cover for him, because he already had that kind of stylization in his singing that it's like these two just fold together and really are working very nicely.
Leave me breathless. I can't help feeling we could have had it all. Rolling in the deep, you and my heart inside of your head, but you played it to the beat.
Huh. It got just a tiny bit pitchy in there where he was hanging out a couple times, just a little under the pitch. But I have to say that the pain of the emotion is capturing and really brings you into it. I think a lot of people think that singers should be pitch perfect. I mean, they should always be on the right one. And sometimes that is appealing. I can see that. There's a lot of beauty, and I think about singers like Sohyang or Dimash, where there's just tons of perfection in the pitch. But when I'm looking for something that's really painful, a lot of times that's going to present itself in having the pitch be a little under, that it grates on us a little bit, and we just feel then this sort of tortured emotion that Chester is emoting. I think that ultimately singing a pitch perfectly is just singing a pitch perfectly. It's not perfect singing. Perfect singing is something that is heartfelt. And you can do that with perfect pitch, or you can do that without perfect pitch. Either. So a lot of people, I think, have criticized him or criticized other singers for not being exactly on the money. And I would just say, listen with your heart. What does it make you feel? Does it make you feel something? Does it make you feel a lot? Then it's good. Let's go back.
You and my heart inside of your head, but you played it to the beat.
It's like so tortured.
I've heard one on you and gonna make your head burn. See me in the depths of your despair, making a home down there, 'cause mine sure won't be shared. The skies of your love remind me of us. They keep me thinking that we almost had it all. The skies of your love, they leave me breathless. I can't help feeling we could have had it all.
I just wanted to let that play for a little longer, because it feels like it's just like something is being torn from inside of him and exiting through his mouth. It's got so much intensity in the line when he is singing a line, often he's taking that breath in, and it doesn't feel like he's holding anything back inside for himself to revel in back there. He's just really truly pouring it out for the audience, and he's allowing pain to come forth and be seen. That's so hard to do. There's a transparency there that is incredibly difficult, especially knowing what happens in his life. That sharing of the pain is enormous. It's just, I feel that's such a gift to be able to give in that way. And it's intense and it keeps going and going and going. It's incredible. Let's go back all the way here. I love the way also that we can focus on how intensely and continuously he's giving that sound, because the way they've stripped down this arrangement, you just have Mike on the piano and him singing. It's a beautiful way to appreciate all that Chester does.
Baby, I have no story to be told, but I've heard one on you, gonna make your head burn. See me in the depths of your despair, making a home down there, 'cause mine sure won't be shared. The skies of your love remind me of us, they keep me thinking that we almost had it all. The skies of your love, they leave me breathless. I can't help feeling we could have had it all. Rolling in the deep, you had my heart inside of your hand, but you played it to the beat. We could.
And this kind of really sustained, passionate, and intense high notes. These are the kinds of notes that can lead to vocal damage sometimes. We know Adele ended up having nodules at one point. Of course, she's had some surgery, which is very successful, and she's definitely, I think, worked around things to come back from that. But it's hard to do. It's just really hard to do. I look at what he's doing right now and the way it's sustained and it's so powerful and it's loud. That requires incredibly low breath support to keep going. There's a lot of air pressure that is essentially underneath the larynx and pushing up. That's part of what makes it such a powerful sound. But you have to practice and become stronger down here. At the same time, you have to make sure that while you're practicing, you're not slightly off in how much power, because then you could be creating sort of sustained damage because you're repeating emotion, which is essentially it just has a lot of impact on the vocal folds. And so that's all to say that this is what he's doing right now is really, really hard. I know, because this is very similar to what we do in opera, where you have a sustained, loud sound for a long time. That is just inherently very, very difficult. And I love the way that he has his whole body engaged behind it. This isn't the kind of singing that somebody should look like nothing is happening in their body. This is a whole body effort for sure. Let's go back a little bit.
The skies of your love, they leave me breathless. I can't help feeling we could have had it all. Rolling in the deep, you had my heart inside of your hand, but you played it to the beat. We could have had it all. Rolling in the deep, you had my heart inside of your hand, but you played it with the beat.
I love that he does with the closed mouth there. Another thing about his tone quality that is so appealing is this slight constant rasp that he has. And I've heard him take that rasp and build it and have just screams, right? But in this more clean singing style, to have a little bit of rasp there all the time, that makes me wonder if it is just naturally present in his tone. A lot of times people are adding the rasp by engaging different parts of their voice, but sometimes there'll be something in the vocal mechanism that just lends itself to always having a little bit of rasp in the sound. I think there's a little extra opening or something for some air to escape in an area. And that little bit of rasp is part of why it sounds like there's always a tortured element in his singing. It's it just it feels so intense all the time. Oh, okay, one more time, right back here.
Rolling in the deep.
I love the flip there.
You have my heart inside of your hand, but you played it with the beating.
This is a beautifully filmed event too.
Throw your soul through every open door. Count your blessings to find what you're looking for. Turn my
Notice the way that his enunciation, as he's getting a little more intense, I mean, it's shocking that he can even get more intense, but as he's upping the level here, his enunciation is also upping from that first verse.
throw your soul through every open door. Count your blessings to find what you're looking for. Turn my sorrow into treasure gold. Pay me back in time and reach just what you sow.
That was beautiful breath control.
Pay me back in time and reach just what you sow.
As essentially flipping into the falsetto there, and the floatiness of it is nicely tuned too. Oh, that when you switch to a different register, a different amount of breath pressure is necessitated. So that's why I said, oh, I love the breath control, because he also continued a long line after that. Oh, very nice.
Pay me back in time and reach just what you sow. You're gonna wish you never had met me. Tears are gonna fall, rolling in the deep. You're gonna wish you could have had it all. You could have had it all.
So just so you know, a lot of times he ends up going up and belting to a note that he also sings in falsetto. This is important to know because a lot of times people think that when you're in a different register, you have different pitches for that register. And the truth is that different vocal registers can cross in different pitches. Certain registers have a tendency to be higher or lower. So it's maybe easier to sing a higher pitch in falsetto, but in full voice down here, or some people will call this chest or head voice. It really depends on what school of vocal science you've come from. But when you're down in a lower register, then it just means that there's more closure essentially in the vocal folds. And more closure is harder to take higher, but it can be extremely powerful to take higher. A higher register like falsetto, there's less closure of the folds. Instead of like having, if you were to zoom in horizontally, the folds go like this essentially as the air is coming through. So you have this full, we'll often call it full closure. And then when you're in falsetto, you have just that top part that's closing. So it's kind of open on the bottom. And when you have that, it is easier to sing high notes for guys. So this doesn't mean that you have to sing a high note in falsetto, maybe the very, very highest ones, but it means that you can bring falsetto down sometimes, and it might be easier to sing a high note, or you could bring that full voice up a little higher and have really powerful high notes. These pitches essentially can be chosen to be sung in which register, and he's definitely doing that throughout here. By the way, it takes more effort and energy and can lead to more damage if you're sustaining with that fuller sound. Again, referring back to that comment I had earlier. I'm gonna go back here one more time. Try to pick out where he sings in that lighter, higher register versus the fuller one.
You're gonna wish you never had met me. Tears are gonna fall, rolling in the deep. You're gonna wish you could have had it all. You could have had it all.
So that pitch that he's singing on right now was earlier previously sung in falsetto, and now he's full on it. Go back one more time here.
You're gonna wish
That's his falsetto.
never had met me.
Really pretty.
Tears are gonna fall,
Easy too.
in the deep. You're gonna wish
He drops some pitch here, fuller voice.
could have had it all. You could have had it all.
And that's the same pitch he was singing in falsetto, but it's just full out belted, very painful. Oh, back to falsetto. I'm full. He's really negotiating that very well.
You played it, you played it, you played it to the beat.
Oh, beautiful. The thing that I love about Chester's voice is this cathartic intensity that he never lacks. Listening to him, it feels like his soul is pouring out, and that makes your soul want to also pour out with him, just listening to him. It's incredible. I'm really, really excited that you all recommended this song to me. It has that intensity, that emotional drain the entire time. It was really beautiful and wonderful to get to see that in an acoustic setting where we can listen to that more specifically and appreciate it. If you'd like to see some other analysis I've done of Linkin Park, you can check that out over here, and I hope to see you again soon.